I asked the filmmakers to submit to me questions for each other.
There are 80% of PBA members who say yes, there are quotas. Why are there only 12 of these officers who are willing to come forward and say, actually, like, we are dealing with a system that is rigged?
Well, I mean, sort of to your question also, there have been so many cops coming up to the guy as myself after screenings and saying, thank you, you did what nobody else in the department would ever do. And so we know that there's like hundreds, if not thousands. The problem is where should they go? What do they do at this point? And I've kind of committed myself to staying deeply involved in sort of the impact and rollout of this, and trying to make this not just a piece of entertainment, but something that could be made useful. But we've had one city council person do a Q&A with us. Nobody's invited the officers or the subjects into their office. No elected official, assembly person, city council, and this is the most historic action that by a group of minority law enforcement, active duty, that the nation, let alone the city, should have been talking about, and it's sort of unfortunately becoming possibly another casualty of like nonfiction storytelling. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that that's not the case. We're trying to find ways to create whistleblower support and really find kind of political and in a way pop cultural support. If one celebrity stepped up and was like, man, this is really fucked up, that could really turn this thing upside down.
So you need like a Taylor Swift tweet or something.
We need our Taylor Swift moment. Yeah, seriously.
We need Dennis Miller.
Yeah.
Dennis Miller.
Dennis or Taylor, if you're out there.
Yance, Steve had a question about a statement you made in the film about your brother's killer. And I'll let Steve pick it up here.
Well, it's something that just was so powerful, and something I really had deep sympathy for, which is that, when you say that you refused to give your brother's killer any space in this film. And I really kind of on a profound, unnameable, intangible level understood that. I guess I was just curious to hear you talk about that.
Yeah. I think in the same way that I rejected the procedural approach to telling the story in Strong Island, I also rejected the idea that it was necessary to even show the face of the man who took my brother's life in order for him to be a subject and to be subject to critique. And I think that it was, it's a powerful, or for me it felt like a very powerful rejection of the necessity of the white perpetrator. And that's because whenever the white perpetrator is in the story, it inevitably, because of the way our culture is, sort of acclimatized to viewing content where there is whiteness juxtaposed to anything else, the scales of believability, of authenticity, of authority they always inevitably tip toward what had been prior to that person's introduction on screen sort of level to completely skewed. And Mark Riley did the ultimate thing, right? He decided to be the victor, and to the victor goes the spoils, but also the victor writes history, right? So I decided that night, he decided that he was going to be the one to write the story. He, in choosing to write the story, attempted, without knowing at the moment, to have me accept that version of his story, and by leaving him out of the picture, that was ultimately my rejection of his actions and his authority in that just one gesture.